Hey everyone, welcome again to another podcast session with myself, Chris Wall, and Ricky Stoddart. This week we are going to talk about a bit of a controversial subject and one that winds both of us up, to be honest with you. And I'll say it in inverted commas: koi doctors or fish health experts, however you want to word it. I've heard lots of phrases to basically coin people that can save all
The
your
minute you
fish.
said that, Wild West and cowboys have sprung to mind in my head.
So it's how many times have we heard, Rick, where people have been led up the garden path with people that seemingly know what they're doing, only to find out that they don't know what they're doing. And obviously, when you're dealing with a health issue with fish, time is of the essence. You know, it's not as if we could be
Yep.
going for weeks and months on end,
Yep.
not getting anywhere, possibly even making the situation worse. What's really criminal about this is some of these guys, they're not charging a few quid.
No, I've heard some proper
It's
horror
insane.
stories on this one.
Absolutely
But
insane.
we
some of
could
the
make this a
prices.
really quick and short and easy video, really. I mean, unless, after the name, they've got them few little letters that they need to say they've got all the paperwork. Likelihood is they're probably not insured
Yeah.
and shouldn't really be going anywhere near it. That I've honestly, I've got zero tolerance for this one. It's just a wrong one. Don't get me wrong, vets are an interesting subject, aren't they? Because most veterinary centres you'll contact know naff all about fish. That we do know. However, we was helping somebody the other day, weren't we, who has been struggling. We know they need antibiotics. This is a private individual who just got in touch. From what we're seeing, we know they needed antibiotics. You cannot get hold of them without a veterinarian. This is another thing, antibiotics just seem to get banded around how they do, and people getting hold of it and administering them at wrong dosage, possibly not even the right antibiotic, none of the groundwork being done for any of this. All wrong. Shouldn't really be happening. But yeah, the vets are needed. And so we was looking round because we knew of one down in London who we couldn't get hold of at the time, so Google searching, and I actually come around at an index of them online, and sure enough, got in touch with one who was happened to be 20 minutes down the road from where this guy's pond was, and she's been an absolute gem apparently, full of knowledge, got all the services available for screening, and sure enough, followed the exact protocol that I would drum and recommend. Knowing full well that screening for bacteria and getting the exact one is a couple of week process, realistically, because they've got to do the cultures, get them growing, and all the rest of it. So that's difficult. So in the interim, we do know that Baytril is a fairly good broad range one that doesn't meet too much resistance. She's administered that, got the correct dosage. I mean, this guy had been given advice and was treating at just 20% of the dose that it should have been going into that fish, big fish. That's just boggling.
So you're not going to get far with it.
No. So all the time and energy of catching a big fish, putting it to sleep, injecting it, all the rest, just a complete and utter waste, and just drag it, it's kicking it down the curb, to a point now where it's desperate, desperate with that one. So she's come in and he's got all the stuff, the advice. The swabs have been done, a blood test been taken from the fish, other cultures and swabs have been done on that fish, other fish in the pond, everything I would be doing and suggesting has all been done. From what I'm told, the fees were fairly reasonable, certainly in comparison to the cost of, I say, just that fish, most koi collections.
Yeah, sure.
In all honesty, but this was a proper veterinarian with, say, all the qualifications. I know for a fact all the necessary insurances. I've done it myself, we've been in shop, you give advice there. It's different to being paid to be given advice when you're pond side to somebody. I looked into this years ago. I was probably only 16, 17 at the time. Phoned my insurance company up, can I get insurance for this? Well, what qualifications have you got that say you can do it? None.
Yeah, sure.
Well, no, not likely, because it's the proper indemnity insurance that you need, and you need to make sure it's covered. And I know for a fact it's mega hard to get. So these people out there who are, crawling from pond to pond, charging the earth for what they're doing, dangerous game if you ask me.
What's the alternative? Obviously, relatively speaking, it was a bit tricky to find people that know what they're doing. Obviously, it's we know there's a reputable place in London, but like you say, London's miles from not everywhere. So classic scenario, customer suffering with health issues, gets in touch with local advisory service, whether it be through a koi club or through a dealer or whatever. Is that poor practice then? Is that what you're saying? Or like where does a customer can feel a bit isolated sometimes?
I think so, and this is a major problem with this, because ultimately, vets do come at a cost. That you've got to weigh up depending on what the problem is. Now, if we're just talking sort of routine parasitic issues,
that can be diagnosed. To
be honest, I don't think there's many excuses these days as a koi keeper, given again what people spend even on the cheapest levels of fish. If you're talking koi at 10, 20 quid each, before you know it, you've got a bit of a pond with a collection that might have 500 grand's worth of fish in it. Aldi's had offer on microscopes in past when they've been like 50 quid or something at daft, I don't know what it was. They're usable, and the information for that is so accessible.
YouTube videos, tutorials.
All you need to do is learn how to get the microscope in focus and look for something moving, and then you can easily match it to the parasites in a book or online or something like that. You'll find it. So it's really easy to do. But I remember back early shop days when we're talking to people not even buying test kits. Again, I'm going to go on the zero tolerance here. A test kit is less than the price of a fish generally, or around the same cost of a cheap koi. There's no excuses not to have your own test kit and be testing your own water on a basic level. Then even on that microscopic level, it's easy enough to learn. But then this is where your relationship with your dealer comes in as well. That's vital. They will no doubt offer services where you can take the fish for mucus biopsy if needs be. You can't do it yourself. Sometimes the dealer will come out, but again, it is venturing into dodgy grounds there a little bit. Depends whether a fee is being charged or whatever it is. And I think this is why you might find dealers being reluctant to actually do it as well at times. Not only that, it's time consuming, and a lot of the times I feel like there's an area where people don't really want to pay for that time proportionately or at a fair rate, because a lot of the times they have to do it outside of shop hours as well, which is, when you've been there for all that time in a day already, then to go in out people's ponds, all that travelling, it's a lot of work.
But for a lot of customers, it's last resort out of desperation. It's banging your head against the brick wall scenario. Let's just make the assumption water's good. I'm not stocking the pond ridiculously. I've not introduced new fish.
We're moving into the realms of bacterial problems, aren't we?
Yeah,
this is
basically,
where this really kicks in, and this is where,
it can't be done.
I cannot say it enough. If you're at the point where you've got full-blown bacterial problem, these things are nasty. They're complex. Again, think what you want when I say this. For me, a bacterial problem is as bad as having KHV.
No, I totally
because
echo
it's
that.
probably a little bit more straightforward with KHV, because if that's happened, you know what you're dealing with, and you know what probably needs to be done. I think with bacteria, there's always this thing that you can save everything. Don't get me wrong, you can, but the complexity of it is huge.
And reoccurring and introducing new fish.
Unfortunately, diagnosing it is a costly process to do it properly and to get what you need to do it, i.e. the antibiotics and all the rest of it. And if you're not confident in administering antibiotics yourself, you then do need help. I do know there's obviously a bit of a black market thing going on with the antibiotic, but just whatever it is, when it comes to that level, you do need professional help on it.
Is, in your opinion, it always comes down to cost and is it viable, etc. Is it just a case that there's just not enough money in the industry to warrant these it's not so-called, but these professionals that can...
Yeah, I mean, seemingly the vets were out there, but if we're looking, one down in London, as soon as you get travelling involved, they're going to need their cost covering. So if we're talking, I know going on for HMRC's quote, we're at 45p a mile. God almighty, that's if you're somewhere up north, you're into some money before you've even started, really, aren't you? But then again, it's looking at it proportionally against the costs of your koi collection. But this is the issue with bacterial problems. I think people end up also spending a lot of money on medications, for example, being led down a garden path thinking they can treat and get on top of these problems using water-based medications.
Yeah, you chucking some chloramine tea in the pond. Yeah.
Just, again, take it from me. I have to say, if it's a true bacterial infection, because some sort of superficial surface damage on one fish is not a bacterial infection. I'm talking like whole diseases where we're attacking
multiple
bells
fish,
of fins, mouths, all the nasty stuff, then multiple fish, that's when you need help to truly get on top of it. To me, and this is going to sound really brutal, but it's almost at a point there where if you can't get the help or feel your only other option really is to, like with almost KHV,
kill or cure,
because it's that complex, and if left untreated, this is the thing we're back to, it'll rumble on for a long time.
Could be a bit disheartening, can't it, as a hobbyist at times, and I think said people feel a bit isolated sometimes, and I think that's what it is. And obviously they turn to people that seemingly have the credentials to deal with certain problems. Like you've said, parasitic problem, fairly straightforward to diagnose, fairly straightforward to treat in many cases, but the bacterial problem is something that needs far more investigation, and that's the real peril that can a lot of people come unstuck with, because a week or two with a bacterial bloom is a long time. Yeah. And obviously you can get this snowball effect. Obviously, as the problem goes on and on, fish become more susceptible, become weaker, become symptomatic of the problems that you get with it becoming waterbound. So I guess the question is, how do we help hobbyists? And
See, it's weirdly, as you sat saying it, that's what I'm sat here thinking, to be honest with you, what the real solution to this is, because
it is a problem.
If we think about it, right, you or I know we could easily do this for people, but the time thing aside, if we chose, right, we're going to offer this as a service, let's play this scenario out, the minute I charge for that advice, I'm liable. Yeah. So there we go. I can't get insured. Therefore, am I going to bother? No. That's a straightforward decision for me. It's not worth risking everything I've got to go medicate someone's fish to earn 150 quid or something like that. Yeah. Just, it's not even a debate or a question. If we did decide to do it, say, threw caution to the wind and went down that route, what are we looking at? So obviously a reasonable fee for time and the knowledge and experience we've got. So you've got travelling, because you're probably going to end up all over the country. Then there's only so far we can go anyway. So I can order tests, we can get that bit done, take sampling, order tests, do that. If needs be, administer antibiotics, can do that. I can't get the antibiotic. So even in all that, I've still got to get a vet. Yeah, you got that end obstacle. What I believe the process is, the vet has got to have sight of the fish in order to make the prescription to get the antibiotics. If we're doing it all properly and above board, that's the process. So then there'll be cost of my time, cost of the vet's time, then you get the antibiotic. Yeah, it's crazy.
Can you
that's doing it all above board. Yeah, that's beat me. No black market antibiotics.
So obviously, time and time again, that's where people are turning to, because either through lack of ability to get hold of anyone, lack of ability to pay for anyone, you put two and two together and try and work your way through it yourself. Yeah.
Well, I think the bit I'm saying here for the hobbyist is, I think if you've got friends who are experienced, and say a friend happens to have, if you're stuck like this and you know you need it and they can get antibiotics, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying don't get. It's you said about the fish vets to begin with, in inverted commas. Yeah. Don't go paying these people stupid sums of money for stuff they shouldn't be doing. That's the bit I'm getting at. If you've got a friend who's got someone for whatever reason, you can get hold of it and he can teach you how to inject it, or you can get somebody along them lines to teach you how to do it, then great. But these people, some of the fees I have heard for the work that they've done, and it's been bad, shoddy work, shoddy advice as well, that's actually sometimes created more problems than it's solved. that's what we're really aiming and targeting at here. And I just want people, you've brought it up, to be aware that you shouldn't be handing the money over to them, really.
I think the reality is the likelihood of a governing body per se is just not going to happen, is it?
No, it's not. It's not big enough.
So there's just not, that's not a reality, unfortunately. And there's going to be guys that are good and guys that are bad at giving out advice. Same as in any industry. Once we diagnose the problem, then obviously we need to act upon it and start looking at treatments. If we pull away from the bacterial side of things and move back to parasitic issues, which are easily diagnosed, like you said, even from a basic concept of going, that's moving, what is it, sort of thing.
With that stuff, I don't think you need to be paying anybody to be pondside.
Yeah.
Personally, I think if you look at what it should cost for somebody to come out, travelling, time, expense already. You've already bought your microscope. Even if you're going with something like a Brunel's basic scope or something like that, you've already bought it, because when you're keeping koi, you've got potential for problems there all the time, and you should be able to turn to it and diagnose it and get it sorted, because it is that simple. In all reality, yes, with inexperience you might miss stuff, but again, this will come back to, this is what a dealer's for. Can you help me just get to the bottom of this, or can I bring a fish? Just have you check it.
Cool thing that with a lot of social media nowadays, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good and bad advice on there, but I'm guessing if you speak to 1,000 hobbyists, most of them will be able to identify, sticking your phone over the lens and taking a video of or sending it to a dealer, going into a dealership and saying, I found this on my fish. What am I looking at? Once you've done that seemed, so okay, we found X, Y, Z, we need to treat with this. But then you've got the added frustration of companies. I know very well-known companies contacted you, very well-known companies contacted me.
You're really trying to get me going today, aren't you?
Well, no, I know it gets your piss boiling. It winds me up something chronic, mate, because everyone's allegedly a crook in this industry, and you got sort of people trying to shine the light on individuals that are basically not fit for purpose, in my opinion. But then you've got manufacturers asking our opinion
on treatment doses.
On treatment. I don't have any side. To put on a packet to tell a customer what that's insane. I think it's embarrassing.
I did do this on one of my Q&As, and reiterate it again, sort of calling out the manufacturers on this one, because new information is needed on dosages. So aside our initial conversation, we've moved on. Parasites are again an ongoing battle. Hopefully with good practice and good keeping regimes and good biosecurity measures, purchasing new fish, you can avoid bacterial problems. It's quite easy. Then good husbandry, keeping on top of parasites and all the rest of it. You can go your entire koi keeping life without having a bacterial problem. So when we speak about them, it's not like, everybody's suffering with them. That's not the case. There's probably more of it out there than we'd like to think, but it winds right back to what you're on about now, and controlling like parasites, because obviously most parasites have the potential to trigger a bacterial problem. Through the damage that they cause, flukes physically carrying bacteria on them that they leave on the site where they've been. Nasty stuff. But and people having these ongoing issues where they're medicating constantly, trying to get rid of flukes, for example. This is really getting too far now, and I think we've managed to bring some newer knowledge forward, some slightly different variated regimes and more understanding of what's going on when medication's being added. But there's not even advice on a medication packet about how to prepare a pond for treatment. This is our really piss poor. This is not basic advice to say clean your filters out before you medicate, because it will help. The
Don't
effect
have
and
loads
impact
of decay and blanket weed and plant life. And
I mean, how simple. I can't see there being any harm on something like that. So, for me, that's somewhere where ultimately the guys making the real money on the meds are the manufacturers. And while people are having to retreat all along, It's them guys that are
lining the
laughing.
pockets. Yeah,
And that does piss me off to see
but
that.
this is a moral and ethical aspect as well. You know, you can't really be sending treatments with the knowledge that there's something better out there. Where's the research in, you know, as far as I'm seeing, there's treatments that are just being repackaged, rebranded. Where's the advancement in I've spoken to a marine biologist in the States, and honestly, they're like, what, you're still using that?
Yeah.
And it's just like, come on, wake up, koi industry. Why are we so... You know, we're so quick to push different products.
It's easy, isn't it, to keep doing something where, again, it's just retreat, because it's selling medication.
But surely, Rick, I mean, this might be my naivety in business. If there's a miracle product out there, why aren't we seeing it?
Well, would you rather sell 4 packets of medication or 1?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. There's a moral and ethical sort of standard to it.
You are being naive then, because it's 4 packets or 1.
So do we just put up with that?
If the miracle treatments
as
in 1 packet,
as an industry, do we just put up with that then?
Until somebody starts calling them out. So here I am.
So you're bringing out a new range of treatments in the near future?
No, absolutely not. I have no interest in getting in, because it's again. I don't know it from their side of the fence either.
Yeah.
But it's about until people start speaking about it, like some of the stuff we have started speaking about, and you bring dialogue to it, nothing can really change.
But I would throw a caveat at what you've just said there by why people aren't using the same treatment, because they're going, well, that's not working, so I'll go to a different one.
It's the same drugs, but then it's then the lack of advice and advancement in the advice that's then creating the problem. That I do believe one of the biggest problems in reoccurring parasites is that the treatments aren't being impactful enough in what they're doing. Because either the dosage is not quite there and incorrect, like with potassium, for example. It's really a variable dosing product depending on the circumstances, but I get that's hard advice to give. I'm not being thick here. But like with the fluke treatments, we know they can be so easily just broken down by the organic and biological action of a pond. You know, hence why the day 1, 50% day 2, 50% day 3. If you think about that, you're double dosing, but doing it in a slightly safer way.
Yeah.
Because you're breaking it down over a 3-day period as opposed to just hitting them all at once, which could cause some stress. Again, we don't know the long-term effects of you know, like toxicology and things like that of hitting them with stronger doses. But like with that fluke treatment, we know that the dosage isn't actually getting to where it needs to be because of that biological and organical action in the pond, which is a part of the problem. So there we go, some basic advice on a packet saying, clean your fucking filters out before you treat it, and you're going to have a lot better result. Why is it our duty to do that? We don't make any money from it.
No, I mean, therein lies the problem, I guess.
Yeah, it's poor. It's really poor. Same with potassium. I mean, there's no other treatment that blatantly stares you in the face. Some of the craziest advice I've seen is on the back of potassium, where it says keep the water purple 15 hours.
Yeah, that's so subjective.
This treatment is lethal.
Mate, I've seen it. Seen it firsthand. It's
keep it purple. So when I've sort of gone, well, from the manufacturer's side, there've got to be so many things to be careful of. Keep it purple for 15 hours is not being careful. It's open ended. How much more do I keep chucking in? Because I know 15 hours.
What's purple?
They're going to be. There you go. I don't think we need to say much more, do we?
Yeah, it is something that really riles me, to be honest.
So I would like someone from that side of the industry to just come forward and start having some dialogue about it and what can be improved, because...
Where's the research, Rick? This is you know what I mean? You have to pay for these medical licenses to put these products on the shelf.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know they're not cheap. I know for a fact they're not cheap, having looked into it years ago when my ex-boss decided he wanted to do some treatments. I totally get what you're saying. You know, there's a business behind all of this, and there's got to be a business function and viability. But yeah, it's a side of the industry that I feel is lacking hugely at the moment.
It's just another one, yeah. And let's say it's not something we can physically do other than give the advice to help. But like I said, I'm happy to do it, don't get me wrong. But I don't think we should be the people having to do it.
You're spot on.
You know, and that's where it really does stink. And yeah, a lot of the treatments aren't the maximum strength stuff either, because I feel like somewhere people are covering their arse.
Well,
But is that true? You know, because when you put in just keep it purple for 15 hours on back of a packet, how is that covering your arse?
Yeah.
It's not really. So then on one side of me, and I'm making this up because there's nobody educating me. So where are we at? Because one's giving piss poor advice like that, and the other one's saying nothing. So
somewhere in between it all, the hobbyist is left to figure it out.
What I do know is there's no issues in saying, you know, clean your filters before you add this medication. So obviously they tell you to turn your UV off, but that's been the same. It's just like copy and pasted for decades now, that information. Clean your filters, or this medication will be impacted by water hardness or softness. You know, things like that. We know massive effects of chloramine T in water hardness and softness. It's not on the back of the packet, from what I can remember.
No, I mean, I couldn't speak for every manufacturer, but yeah.
Really shoddy, and it's about time it changed, because, and not only that, I'm seeing people leave the hobby because they're fed up and cannot get rid of reoccurring, really low-level parasite problems. And they're sick of just spend.
Well, this is where, like, we were talking about from a business perspective, and you're sort of saying, well, you are naive, but I would counter that by saying if the hobby starts to shrink because people can't physically, so that there's a to and fro for all of it.
Short-sighted, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably the best way of putting it. You know, there's we could put a man on the moon, Rick. Surely we can get rid of
a few flukes.
Yeah,
it's there. But like I say, it's for people much smarter than us, you know, that get to know this stuff, know the full extent of it all. But yeah, just just a little bit of new information on something would be fantastic.
Well, I'd love to hear from some of these companies, other than asking me for advice on what tech should be on the back of their treatments.
There's 2 spare seats here and a couple of microphones, so. If this does get
there
back to anyone and they're willing, we'd love to have a chat.
But seriously though, I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear that I'm sure there's more to it than I'm giving it credit for. You know, licensing, science, blah blah blah. I know there's. I'm making it simple the way I'm talking about it.
Some silly questions, you know. Can you actually make these medications stronger? Because I do know there's several treatments on the market, like a malachite and formalin, for example, where one particular brand that I'm quite fond of has substantially higher formaldehyde levels than a lot of the standard stuff you buy, and that's the potent side of that chemical. So what's going on there?
Yeah, why?
You know, why is this one not and that one is? Of course, that one is just to sort of end on. We talk about white spot treatment regimes. I know there's the cycles with white spot, but I've always in my head, just very simplistically and logically thinking, if a treatment is strong enough, it's going to go in and destroy all traces, adult, the cysts, the job lot, if it's strong enough. And with that particular treatment I'm on about, I've found that to be able to be the case. A one-hit wonder for white spot, take it out. It's the breeders, I've been around in Japan, their approach to medication. You get in, you get it destroyed, you get out and recover the system and recover the fish from it. Not 3 cycled treatments of malachite and formalin to try and get rid of white spot, because it's just like diluted piss, the treatment. So what's the point? That there to me is black and white, and I know blatantly the formaldehyde strength's different, and me and you know formaldehyde's the thing you want to actually get rid of the white spot.
Interesting topic, and think it's one that is going to rumble on. You know, we sort of joke about a little bit every day of the week, but today is a subject that I feel pretty passionate about. I know you do as well, and hopefully there's not too many people that have suffered the ill effect of sort of shit advice, basically. But yeah,
there we go.
It's there for everyone to listen to. It's there for the manufacturers and like Rick said, people that are smarter than us to come forward and 2 spare seats, 2 spare mics, 2 spare brains.
Look forward to it. I feel like it'll be a long time coming.
I think you're right, mate. But we'll see, mate. Pigs do fly. So yeah. On that note, guys, thanks very much. Thanks for all your support, and catch you on the next one.